What's going on, everybody? Good morning and welcome back to Beat the Bell. Hope you guys have all had an awesome week. Yesterday was CPI, and we certainly got some CPI price action with the initial move being a fake down and then a rally and then a sell-off all the way to the lows where we're currently sitting at coming into today. All right, we've got the team with us this morning, starting with Diamond Trades. Diamond, good morning.
Alejandro, what's going on? Like you said, yesterday was pretty volatile with CPI. We'll get into it on Fed forecast.
All right, and Stock Snipa, who is now back in the States.
Good morning. We got a special episode today. We got an extra long Bet the Bell today for you guys.
Beautiful. Diamond Trades, take it away. Fed forecast.
All right, let's first go ahead and check out the PPI. So we just got PPI in live at 8:30. So the producer price index came in at 0.3% month over month versus 0.2% consensus and 0% previous. So the market actually initially dropped on the print and is still trading at the lows. Not a ton of volatility off that print. And then the only thing that we have after this for high impact news is going to be UMISH consumer sentiment at 10 o'clock. So that will wrap up this week's high impact news. Yesterday, we got CPI, so let's talk about that. The market held on by a string yesterday to close the day green after a midday reversal erased nearly all of the AM session gains. The S&P and NASDAQ both added 0.1% and the Dow rose 0.2%. This was following CPI data that we received before the bell showing headline inflation rose 3.2% year over year and 0.2% month over month, according to the Labor Department, figures that were pretty much in line with expectations. We've talked previously about how the month-over-month numbers are going to become increasingly important, right, as the year-over-year comps from last year begin to normalize. That 0.2% print in the past 2 months are good, are definitely a good start, but investors in the Fed want to see progress there to get a better picture of how long central bankers will need to keep rates elevated. The federal funds rate is currently pricing in a 90% chance that the Fed will keep rates unchanged at their next meeting in September, up from 72% just a month ago, suggesting that the inflation data that we've gotten is tame enough to the Fed's liking. We'll get more insight from Jerome Powell when he speaks at the annual Jackson Hole conference in about 2 weeks here. Disney reported earnings yesterday after or Wednesday rather, after the close, reported fairly mixed earnings, beating on EPS, reporting 1.03 EPS versus 95 cents expected, and missing on revenue, reporting $22.33 billion versus $22.5 billion expected. The company's streaming service, Disney Plus, continued to underperform, reporting 146 million in subscribers, a miss from the 151 expected, and a 7.4% decrease from the previous quarter. So a large chunk of that missing Disney Plus subscribers came from Disney Plus Hotstar, which lost 24% of subscribers after losing rights to the Indian Premier League cricket. The stock rallied 4% in after hours after executives said on the earnings call that they were raising the price of their ad-free streaming tier and are following in Netflix's footsteps by cracking down on password sharing. Moving forward, I believe 3 businesses will drive growth and value creation over the next 5 years, said the CEO, Bob Iger. They are our film studios, our park businesses, and streaming, all of which are inextricably linked to our brands and franchises. The brightest spot in the Disney earnings was the parks, experiences, and products division, which saw a 13% increase in revenue over the quarter, primarily linked to international parks, while domestic parks still showed a slowdown in attendance and hotel room purchases. The share reaction is welcome one for shareholders as the company has underperformed this year, up only 5.6% year to date versus 17.4% for the S&P. So that small bounce was definitely welcome by Disney shareholders. But that's going to wrap up Fed forecast, and I will pass it back to Alejandro.
All right, thank you, Noah. Let's take a look at the S&P. So, guys, all week long, we've been talking about this backtest area, right? From July 12th when we broke out. And we've been holding it so far this week. But as you guys can see, this has now become an extremely heavily tested area. And so there's certainly weakness here. And bulls would have liked to have seen by now a liftoff from this spot. That being said, we have not been able to break over the 50 SMA on the 1 hour chart. As you guys can see, we've been in a steady downtrend and short the pops, which has actually left us with a really nice trading range this week. So we haven't gotten any continuation in either direction, but in looking at the chart here, shorting the pops, obviously a winning trade, but also buying the dips and trading the false breakdowns around this backtest area has been phenomenal for traders this week. And we've been talking about how important it is in this particular market, as opposed to how things were in July, to be taking those profits, locking in those gains, because there were so many, opportunities this week to make those winning trades. But if you were praying and hoping for those giant trend moves that we were getting in July, it's very likely that you found yourself in trouble and you found yourself getting chopped up. So coming into today, it appears as though the Bears are still in control under the 50 SMA on both the 30-minute and the 1 hour charts. And we're certainly seeing some weakness this morning. I have been talking about this backtest area and how important it is for this to hold for bulls. And as long as this area is holding, there's nothing quote unquote bearish, but we haven't been able to get that lift off yet. And that zone being tested repeatedly is certainly some thing to be concerned about for bulls here. So as long as we're trading below the 50 SMA, all you really need to know is that short the pops is the sort of theme until we can climb back up and flip things as to how they were in July, which was that buy the dip mode. And that's going to require for bulls to reclaim some important levels of resistances. And two of those levels, as you guys know, are the 50 SMAs on the 30-minute and 1 hour SPX charts. That's going to do it for the system. I'm going to go over to Stock Snipa now for Bet the Bell.
Good morning, guys. Today we got a special Bet the Bell. I got some extra questions and pretty excited to ask about some of these. One of them is a little unrelated, but it's also very interesting, and I know everybody has thought about it recently on Twitter. But let's go ahead and look at the standings here. We can see at the top we got Diamond with a 65% win percentage. Pretty crazy right here. I'm pretty sure this is the highest percentage we've seen so far. Hondo's tied with 52 wins up there also, just because there is one additional loss for Hondo. But we see that's there. Mander is tailing behind, and I put myself in last just to be humble. But I'm going to go ahead and start it off with the typical first question that we see every day: green or red today in the market? I'm going to start it off with Diamond.
I'm going to say red. My only worry about red is that we get some sort of late day rally after this whole week of selling. I'm going to go red.
Hondo, what do you got? Green or red today?
I'm going to go red. In this particular spot, we've seen the dip get bought up repeatedly all week. But again, I think bulls by now would have liked to have seen that push higher, and we haven't gotten that. And we're back down at support that is a weakening area now. So I think that there's a chance that we see some selling today.
I like that. I'm going to have to take red here as well. Got to agree there. I think that we will probably see some selling. We are sitting at 445.91 right now on SPY. 444.69. We did just actually have a pretty big dip already in the pre-market, and things aren't looking the greatest in the pre-market at the moment. But I'm going to go ahead and jump into our next question. Diamond already brought it up during Fed forecast, talking about Disney's 4% change and also Disney's future possibility and change of policy. And there's just a lot going on overall with this name right now. I'm sure that many of you guys have heard that they are targeted on the short side by Wall Street bets. But overall, guys, are we bearish or are we bullish on Disney? Considering also, forgot to mention the tweet, they did lose 11.7 million subscribers worldwide in the 3 months ending in July. That's quite a lot of subscribers. But I'm going to have to start this one off with Hondo. Are you bullish or bearish on Disney?
In the short term, I think that I'm bearish. The reason being the stock has really struggled this year in what has been a really strong market. So clearly some relative weakness there. But over the long term, this is a company that I would definitely look to invest in, especially as the stock gets cheaper. Disney to me is, one of those one of those household names that typically tends to figure things out. So yeah, I think that in the short term, it's getting a bit of heat here, but it could potentially turn things around.
I like it. Diamond, what you got?
I agree. I think Hunter's right in the sense that the stock price isn't just trading at pretty historically low levels. Like we're at like what 2020 lows right now. The stock doesn't trade at those levels for no reason. I think that when you look at over the past year in particular, they've just had a lot of headwinds, whether it's ESPN, whether it's their Disney Plus streaming. They've just had a lot of headwinds and sort of like misexecutions. And so from that standpoint, it makes sense why the stock is trading where it is. At the same time, like you said, this is a company with brands that are so ingrained in like the American I guess psyche and like memory and just like the fabric of our country that it feels like you can always bet on it to bounce back. And so I mean, I'm a long-term shareholder. I don't know. I am bullish on the company long-term. I feel like Alejandro said, when you see situations like this and the stock price isn't necessarily trading the way that you want it to, it's worth taking a flyer, in my opinion. So bullish long-term.
I like it. So, I'm going to sound crazy when I say this here, but probably about, I would say over a year ago, I actually made this statement. But one thing that I've noticed Disney notoriously do over the last decade or so is they like to put their political opinions out there and publish them as a company, which is one thing I really don't like because I personally don't care how the company stands politically. I care about if they're going to make money or if they're not, and if the stock is going to go up or if the stock is not. But I know that there's a lot of investors out there that will avoid or certainly boycott a specific company based off of political views. That's why I really don't like companies that put their political views out there pretty hard like that, especially for unrelated things towards their actual company. But personally, I think that the street has targeted Disney, and there's a pretty big target on their back. Wall Street Bets did say buy AMC. We did see what they ended up doing after pumping AMC. So I don't know. Just because of that alone, I think I want to take bearish on Disney here. Personally, not a hater, but big target on their back right now on the short side. I'm going to go ahead and jump into our next question. Speaking of AMC and speaking of Wall Street Bets, we could see that Adam Aron, the chief executive officer of AMC, announced that Q2 2023 earnings, AMC's strongest quarter in 4 full years, record-setting adjusted EBITDA of $182.5 million, up 71% over Q2 2022, and July 2023 was the biggest revenue month in AMC's entire 103-year history. So that means that they are making more money, or in this last quarter, they have made more money than they ever have, which is an amazing news, I think, as far as towards the movies. Now, my question is, it's a little bit bigger than just AMC. This is about we got to think about the big picture here. We got Cinemark. We got a couple of other competitors to them. Is it possible that we could see movie theaters coming back? Do we think that they could bounce back after all the hit they took from COVID and all of the other catalysts that we've seen over the last couple of years that are negative towards movie theaters? What do you think, Diamond?
I saw this is gonna be like kind of random, but kind of relevant to what we're talking about. I saw an Instagram reel the other day of Matt Damon, and the question was like, why don't they make movies like they used to anymore? I guess if you think of like all the classic movies that like he was in, and he was basically saying how like the industry changed in the sense that if you make a $25 million movie, you basically at this point have to make $100 million in the box office to cover your expenses between advertising, financing, things like that. And back then they used to have like basically you would release the movie and then 6 months later you could release a DVD and you would get like a whole new revenue stream basically. And then you could count on that to sort of boost your numbers. And so you didn't need to make it all in the box office, right? And so people were willing to take a flyer on movies and really take I guess like an artistic chance and take that chance because there's more of a margin for error than there is today. And I think that the way that that's relevant to the question is that movie theaters are obviously going to be dependent on the movies, right? And I think when you look at the business right now of making movies, between the Hollywood strike and between basically the dynamics that I just talked about, it seems like there's going to be less really high quality movies made in the future. And so for that reason, it's hard to be bullish on the idea of movie theaters going forward. I'm sure that they're definitely experiencing a nice resurgence from, the hit that they took during COVID. But I don't necessarily think that they are going to exceed those pre-COVID levels. In my opinion, I think that if anything, they'll just get back to where they were and sort of stagnate there.
Great answer, man. Hondo, what do you got?
I'm in agreement. I'll give the more short-winded version of what Diamond said. The film industry has changed. People don't go to the movie theaters unless it's some giant event like we've seen with Oppenheimer and Barbie, and it's just sort of out of nowhere. A couple good movies came out and people just rushed to the movie theaters. But for the most part, everybody just uses streaming services now. I don't think that we'll ever get back to, when we were growing up, it was like anytime a new movie was coming out, the only way to see it was to go to the theater, or else you weren't going to be able to see it for a couple months, And so for us, it was important to go and have that experience and go watch a movie with your friends. That to me now is very, very rare nowadays. I don't think that the movie theaters are necessarily coming back, but hopefully people do start to get interested in going to the movies a little bit better, and that's obviously heavily dependent on the filmmakers.
I see. I like that. I mean, yeah, I think it is possible that they could bounce back. When I'm looking at all the movies that came out, yeah, I would say that COVID completely stopped the production of movies for a while, and we definitely saw a huge hit in that space overall. But what I'm pretty much seeing, and when I look at this overall, is like, I mean, since then we got Top Gun, we got Avatar 2, we got some really banging movies that have come out. And I mean, maybe you might not personally like it, but I'm just referring to it as movies that made a lot of money. And, before we had Interstellar, we had a lot of good movies then too. But I mean, yeah, it is possible that they could be. I'm sure Barbie's making a lot of money. I haven't really looked into it, to be honest. I don't want to speak on something I don't know. But I'm sure that it is possible based off of what comes out. I feel like the movie theaters are very dependent on the movie production. So it's kind of more up to the movie production if the movie theaters are going to survive, based on what comes out. But I'm going to go ahead and transition into my okay, I just got a little comment really quick, but Barbie's the 10th fastest to 1 billion ever, which is a pretty good stat right there. We could see that Barbie did generate quite a lot of money. But I'm going to jump over towards our next question now, and this one is related towards SPY. Now, we could see that SPY did break that $450 level. We could see that we are starting right now to come into some resistance on SPY. It looks like we want to sell, but we don't want to sell that quick. And there has been a pretty big war, I would say, throughout the week, kind of for SPY to push closer towards 450, while there are definitely shorts on it wanting it to come down towards 440. But my question for you guys is, do you think SPY will break 460 in August? I'm going to go ahead and start this one off with Honda.
I don't personally think so. I think that August is going to continue to be a sideways month. I do think that we'll see a rebound pretty soon here around the middle of the month, and then a rally into the end of the month, and some strength to start September. But I don't see us cracking that 460, no.
I see. Yeah, I think it's a tough level as well. Diamond, what do you got?
I'm generally in agreement with Alejandro. I don't think that we're going to get up there. I mean, is it possible? Yes. Do I think that we will? No. Before the month's over, it's been choppy conditions so far, and sort of expecting that to continue.
I see. Yeah, and if Mander was here, I'm sure Mander would say absolutely no chance, or hell no, or he would be going crazy right now. So I'm just going to put that little comment there in the lack of Mander's presence today. But yeah, I personally think that it could be possible. We need something crazy to happen, though. I think that we're not going to really break 440 today. And I think next week it'll also be pretty tough to break 440. I think that we're having a little battle on it. But I think that we could hang out here for a while and something could happen later on in August or possibly in September that could bring us closer towards 460. But I'm going to have to take overall, not yet in August. I'm going to go ahead and transition into my next question. A little bit off topic, but I know that everybody has seen this one on Twitter, and I know that everybody's been wondering this one. So I just want to get some opinions on this question right here. But we got reports that Dana White, the founder of the UFC, is talking to Italy, and they're trying to see. Here's the tweet actually right here. UFC president Dana White has held a meeting with the Italian government to discuss the Elon Musk versus Mark Zuckerberg fight and making it happen inside of the Roman Coliseum. Now, I think that is absolutely crazy. And this would be at UFC 300, which is where they pretty much are saying that this fight is going to happen. It's pretty much dated towards, I believe, February of next year. Don't quote me on that. Crazy ass UFC card. We got John Jones. We got a couple of other champion defending titles there, but they're not even the main event. We're going to see Elon Musk and Mark Zuckerberg. But I'm going to go ahead and start this off with Hondo. Do you think that UFC 300 would happen inside of the Coliseum? Will we see Mark Zuckerberg fight Elon Musk inside of there?
I was about to ask you that. I want to know if you had any more details on whether or not they're actually going to fight in the Coliseum. That's insane. It's going to be the highest selling pay-per-view of all time, especially if these two guys fight. I don't know. A couple billionaires who are probably pretty bored at this point in their careers, considering they've made more of an impact than 99.99% of people ever will. And I don't know, billionaires, I feel like just do stupid shit like this. I mean, you had 5 of them jump in the fucking submarine the other day to go see the Titanic. So I don't put it past them. I think that this could definitely happen, and I'll be watching.
Okay, I like it. Diamond, what you got?
That's crazy.
Wait, hang on. Let me cut you off. Let me go right back to Hondo for a second. The question is not if they're going to fight. It's just about confirmed that they're actually going to fight. The question is really if it will happen inside of the Coliseum. But they are scheduled to fight at UFC 300, and if you do look up the card, you will see them at the top of it.
I don't know if they'll actually fight in the Coliseum, because now I'm thinking about how will they be able to set up the grandstands? Will they be able to sell tickets?
Mm-hmm.
They might just need to stick with standard MSG.
Yep, that's kind of what I'm thinking. Diamond, what do you got on this?
I think the question is whether they're going to fight in the Coliseum or not. I mean, sure, like that's a tough ask. I mean, if Italy says it's okay, I'm sure that they'll do it. You know what I mean? Like,
Italy did offer them a month ago that Italy offered that they could fight in the Coliseum.
All right, yeah, then yeah, sure, why not? I think that would be like the most epic setting for like an epic battle. I think that I would like to see that. That's where I want them to fight, the Coliseum.
Yeah, I like it too. The one thing like Hondo brought up a good point is like, how are people going to spectate this event in person? I can't really imagine a bunch of people sitting inside of the Coliseum, especially on a monument kind of like that. It would be an absolute brawl inside of there, and I'm sure nobody's fought inside of there in quite a while, a couple centuries, I believe. But I think that if they do it there, first off, I also think that this will be the most watched fight in boxing, MMA, any combat sport in history, regardless of where the setting is already. But I think that if it is in the Coliseum, it will be even crazier. I personally want to see it happen, but I can't really imagine anybody being able to spectate. And I'm sure that the Italian government would hate to see people leaving empty soda bottles and popcorn all over the stands, inside of the Coliseum. So I could definitely see that being a little problem there. But that's pretty much my thoughts on this entire take for UFC 300. Really excited for it already. I personally got Zuckerberg. I think that he's going to destroy Elon, considering he's a blue belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. But that'll wrap it up for Bet the Bell today. Or I'm going to pass it back to Hondo here.
All right, good stuff. Appreciate everybody who tuned in this week. This was a fun week. Lots of volatility, as we mentioned. We'll be trading live all day in the King Capital Discord. You can go to king-capital.com or scan the QR code that is on the screen. Have an awesome weekend, everybody. Hope you enjoy it, reset, and come back ready to go. On Monday morning, we'll be here 8:30 a.m. Eastern Time. ready to rock with you guys. Have a great weekend, everyone.